Welcome to the Happy Hour. I'm your host, Dr. Elia, and every week I'm going to interview some amazing guests with inspiring stories. And we are going to have some hot conversations. That's right, HOT, which stands for honest, open, and transparent. We're going to laugh, we're going to tug at your heartstrings, and more importantly, we're going to offer some practical tips. Happiness is a choice, but it's also a skill set, and it's available to everybody. And I promise you, if you do certain things on a daily basis, your life will be transformed. Today, I'm really excited to have on the show this amazing human, Jacqueline Way. She's an author, a global keynote speaker, a philanthropist, a mother of 3 boys, and so much more. But her sole purpose is to teach, to inspire, to empower the hearts and minds of people globally to create a compassionate, peaceful, and more loving world. Now, this is the official bio. Now I'm going to go off script a little bit. This is my bio for Jacqueline. 3 words: kindness, happiness, love. And 8.2 million. We're going to come back to that number. Just remember that. Jacqueline, welcome to the show, all the way from Vancouver, Canada. She's the epitome of divine feminine. So I bow to you, my Canadian goddess. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. Dr. Elia, I am so excited for your new show, The Happy Hour. This is something that I know is going to benefit the world, and I'm honored to be your guest today. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, I know how much you've benefited the world, and you continue to do so. So you and I met at the World Happiness Day in the middle of the pandemic several years ago. And really was just love at first sight. I mean, just 2 souls, I'm Greek, she's Canadian, and we met in the ethers and just connected heart to heart. Jackie, you have a remarkable story to tell. So start us off with what happened with your little boy, Nick. I mean, years and years ago, because you guys, this is an incredible story. Just wait till you hear it. Go ahead.
It is. Thank you so much. I'm a very blessed woman that I am not only a mother, but I am an adopted mother of 3 beautiful boys. And I think part of the beautiful part of my story is, when my first son, Nick, came home, he was just 11 weeks old. And, I learned something about myself I didn't know. And for those of you that are parents out there, I finally learned what true unconditional love was. And it was the gift that all of my kids have given me. And I thought if there was something I could do for my own children, something I could do for the world, that was to grow kind, compassionate, loving little men for our world, and what it truly needs. So when Nick, my first son, turned just 3 years old, philanthropy had been part of my life since I was his age. It was something that carried through my own family, something I had committed to do through my own business, starting from my early 20s. And I thought if there was something I could do, it would be to teach Nick those lessons, how to be kind, compassionate, and loving. So we started off on a personal, literally parenting project. And I decided, starting on his 3rd birthday, we were going to do one thing to give back to the world every day for 365 days.
This is like a
Crazy.
social experiment with your boy. I mean, this is like, what mother does this? Except a
I
3-year-old
don't
says,
know.
hey, we're going to do something for the next 3. He doesn't even have a concept of time. How does he even know what a year
No.
is?
You know what? It's really funny because it's exactly the question he asked me, Dr. Elia. He literally said, Mom, what's 365 days? And I said to him, 1 year. And at 3, you start to get a hold of time. Do they actually understand the big picture of it? Of course not. And so this is the beauty of what we did, is we just did it 1 day at a time, because that's the understanding for a 3-year-old. They're living in the moment, right? And every day is just another moment in time. So that's what this lesson taught me so much of, is being in the present, being very intentional in the way we give. You called it kindness, and that I amplify kindness. And I know it sounds a little funny, but I always think of kindness as something different than we do in some ways. Kindness is part of it, but to me, giving is taking a little part of ourselves. It's literally kind of putting love and happiness into action in our world. And that's not just for people. We found ways, and when you talk to children and you ask them how they like to give, they're going to tell you, I want to take care of our planet. They want to give back to animals. And yes, we give back to people as well, but we include all living creatures on our planet as part of what we did and I did with my son. Our first stop was down to a local animal shelter to give blankets and towels. We did a lot of garbage picking on our local beach, and we found ways to incorporate giving into our life with the activities we were already doing. That may be stopping at the Sally Ann, our local charitable organization, to drop clothes and toys we didn't need, or it was shopping there instead of going and buying new products. It was taking our bags to the grocery store. So these are things that we do every day.
Are you telling me that like actually every single day you did this for 365 days? You didn't miss a day.
We did.
This is an
We
actual, that's the
never.
truth. Every single day for a full year.
You can go and check. We started, or I started, not Nick. I started a blog at the time because that's what we did, and we really wanted to share our stories with people, our friends and family. But I thought, if we could inspire just one person along the way, one other person, then we created that ripple effect of giving and kindness, and we know based on science that that's possible. And now, based on science and what I know, is the ripple effect of giving is actually to 3 times. And it's not just 3 times the 3 people that see me, it's 3 times those people that saw me, it's going to ripple 3 times past them and times past them. So that ripple effect of giving and kindness that keeps expanding with every small action that we take.
I'm kind of curious. How old is Nick right now?
Nick is just about to turn 17.
So this happened 14 years ago.
Did.
And in essence, you created an atomic habit, a micro habit for him. What's happened to him as a
Mm.
result of that? Because I don't know any 3-year-old that really has this 365 period of kindness in their formative years so early on. What
Yeah.
has happened to him as a result of what you this? I still call it a family experiment or a social experiment. But
Well,
what is the
it
result
was
of
in
that?
an
Like,
odd
what
way.
happened to him? What happened to
Right.
him?
Well, here's the good news, and this is what we know. And for people that are out there, if you don't know this yet, is that our children's brains, and whether you're an educator, you're an aunt, you're an uncle, you're a grandparent, our biggest growth time is between the ages of 0 to 7. This is when we can really start to help to grow a culture within a child, and whether that's a culture of kindness, giving, love, this is our prime time that we get to do it because it's the biggest nurturing time for their brains. So I'm very proud, Mama, to say that my son is exactly what I had set out to do, and that was to grow a kind, compassionate, loving human being. And it's not because I just see it in him. Of course, I see it in him, and he's not perfect. I'll let you know. He's still a 17-year-old,
What? No,
but it's
she's
it's
a
the
teenager.
feedback, right? It's the feedback that I get from others, and that's what I always look at is I don't care what my kids' grades are. I don't care if they're the best at a sport that they choose or anything else. What I care is that when parents have a sleepover with my kids, they're saying, your kid he's just such a good kid. He's always there to help. He's the first one to offer to clear dishes, or how can they help around the house while they're staying and being a guest. Their teachers on the report card, your son is just a kind, helpful, collaborative student in the classroom. And those are the words to me that means that I've done something right at home, because now that my son is 17, it's kind of out of my control. I can reel him in a little bit, but not too much anymore, right? And I have to continue to set that example. But this culture has been created in our family. It has now become a global giving movement across the world. Nick has participated in that. He's been part of the teaching, part of educating other students, being part of our global tours that we've done. And that culture has stayed with him, and it stayed with my other children as well. So this is just a culture that we have created in our house. And it's easy because we can just say, oh, I did my 365 give today. We name it, we identify it, we talk about it, we set intentions for the day. We talk about it at the end of the day. What'd you do today? What did you do that was good today? So that we establish a baseline that 365 give is who we are as a family.
One of the things that I love about what you just shared is I think for most of us as parents, we're very achievement oriented for our kids, and we have
Yeah,
our own even projections, from our own childhood and so on, to get those good grades so you can get to the right college, so you can get the right job, so you can get the right salary, so you can get, and on and on and on, or
absolutely.
sports. And there's a lot of pressure for kids.
A
And
lot of
these are all
pressure.
not that they're not important, but I keep going back, and I'll share, my background first as a clinical psychologist in private practice. I claim that I've raised over 500 teenagers. So I have my own
Mm.
informal statistics about that point.
Right.
No, I do.
It's
And
true.
the focus is really on the human doing, because that's how we measure success. What I love about what
Mhm.
you said about not just Nick, but your kids as well, that you raise them to be truly human beings.
Mhm.
And when we, if we're raised in homes where the human doing is the only thing that gets rewarded, then we go after that for the rest of our lives. And we split, in essence, from the softer side, the softer skills, the human being skills. But you did it in reverse. And I think that's the real success. Whatever he does, whatever college he goes to, and whatever achievements he has, he's already successful because he's such a beautiful and kind soul. And that's the
Absolutely.
success.
Well, and I think one of the parts, and since we're on happy hour, we really need to talk about this, is what most people don't realize. And I'll let everyone know, I've adopted three neurodiverse children with very unique differences since they were
Can you
born, with
explain that
brain
real quick?
differences.
What do you mean when you say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, neural difference for people. So my children were actually born with a brain difference, actually brain damage. And so I don't have children. They have learning disabilities. They have social anxieties. They have differences in their world that challenge them every day. And these include ADHD, versions of it, and another of other symptoms similar to autism. It is different. So my challenge as a parent is very different than most. I actually don't know what it's like to have just a normal or regular child. So my world is very different, and I've had to really understand the the importance of a happy brain for a child, right? And how it helps them learn, how it helps them learn to control their stress and anxiety. Our children are growing up in a world that is overloaded, and we have what I call the COVID babies, overloaded in a world of stress and separation. There's no sense of unity. The family core has really been divided these days. Countries
Mhm.
have been divided, and our kids are exposed to a very different world of media than what we ever were. And
No
so their
doubt.
mental health challenges are very different. And what I want people to know, and this isn't just for children, this is for adults as well, is that when we can begin to regulate our systems, our nervous systems, we can regulate our brains. We find the tools to actually increase our happiness, increase our dopamine naturally, not because of a device or phone or Instagram. We learn to foster love, oxytocin in our bodies. We actually perform at our best. You want your child to do well at school? Make sure they understand emotional resilience, emotional
Mm.
regulation. Make sure their brains are at their happiest. You want a successful adult? It shows us, and research shows us, that the best long-term outcomes for a child and a successful adult is their happiness in childhood, because that's where it starts. They learn this regulation. They learn that their brains at a calm state actually function at its best. We call this flow state. We call it at 365 Give, my charitable organization, we call it your daily dose of happiness, where you actually learn to cultivate with intention and with practice. And that's what I've learned through 365 Give, is that we need to practice every day our happiness, our love, our endorphins, which give us that kind of natural high to keep going and be resilient and push through in our lives. That's what athletes get, right? And then last of all, our dopamine, and it's that little reward system in our bodies. When we can get all this working for us, we find our creative ways, our tools, and our strategies. It's what I love about giving. It fires and wires all of this in our bodies, is that we now have a tool for our own personal success, satisfaction, and really how we can begin to have a life on purpose.
I just love how you explained it, but more importantly, how connected you are to the greatest drug dealer in the world,
Right.
the
And it's
brain.
free.
And it's free. This drug
It
dealer,
is.
everybody should have a drug dealer like that. Dopamine,
Right.
serotonin, endorphins. What did I forget?
All
All
reducing
of
our
them.
cortisol at the
That's
same
right.
time, which is our stress. They've actually proven, and they did studies right over COVID, is that people that were, and we saw this a lot over COVID, people that were cooking meals for seniors who couldn't get out, that were being helpful in their communities, that were coming together to support other people that required it. This actually reduced that COVID stress. And I know it was for me. I went out every day. I was cooking for seniors. I was doing things for my neighbors or people that were, stuck because they had COVID. I was going out and doing their grocery shopping for them. We did a lot of activities right at home as well, working on our garden, growing our own vegetables, growing flowers to help the bees. Like, it was something that we could do that kept our stress levels down over that time. And what we know is our greatest challenge right now, our world's pandemic, is the mental health of people all over the world.
all over the
But
world.
the greatest impact we can have is that when we learn how to manage our own mental health, when we learn to manage our own happiness, is that affects everyone around us. If you want to have an impact on people, start working on yourself, start working on your own happiness, cultivating that love from the inside out. And then that starts to have an impact on everyone around us. It's how we create peace in our world.
I love that you use the word impact like several times because
Mhm.
a lot of people may not know you, but they will know you after this.
Mhm.
Promise me. Impact, legacy. This lady here, ladies and gentlemen, several years ago did a TEDx talk, How to Be Happy Every Day. What a great title. And the subtitle, of course, It Will Change the World.
Well, researchers from all over the world have been studying the science and psychology of giving. They've discovered that our brains and our bodies are actually hardwired for giving. When we give, our endorphins kick in, giving us this natural high feeling. They've actually called it the helper's high.
Our oxytocin levels rise.
This would be our love hormone. And for those of you that have been looking for the fountain of youth, it's our body's natural anti-aging remedy. And that feeling I got when I volunteered with my dad, that's serotonin, our body's happy transmitter. But here's the icing on the cake. Our cortisol levels drop. This is our stress hormone. Giving reduces anxiety and stress, and it makes us happy.
When I met her, this had, I think, around 60,000 views. Not bad, not bad at all. Right now, then we're going to go back to the original number, 8.2 million views. Talk about impact globally. Jacqueline, you have impacted millions and millions of lives, and this is the gift that keeps on giving. And I'm like just really honored just to have you on the show just on that alone, because your heart, you and I have talked about this, mindset is great, but heart set is even better. Tell me, why do you think your message, your 15 minutes, usually it's 15 minutes of fame, but then it's grown now to 8.2 millions, and I think it's going to continue to grow, right, globally. Why has it resonated so much with people throughout the world?
I think for two reasons. One, I think that people are searching for happiness. Literally, if you go and you look at the comments on that TEDx talk, so many people say, "I can't believe I'm searching for happiness," and people really are searching for it. And that's part of our challenge, is that we keep coming to our outside world looking to get filled by happiness, and really it is. And we've said this so often: happiness comes from the inside out, right? Going and buying a new pair of shoes, a new car, a new house, all of the ways we try to feed our happiness. But it really is this inside job that we have to cultivate. We have to foster, we have to practice. We say every day, really, it's a moment by moment experience for us all. Because if you find yourself, I want everybody to think about this for a minute. We practice this internal dialogue in our heads all day long. And if you're not sure what that internal dialogue is, just sit down with no music, no nothing, quiet, and listen to the internal chatter that's going on in your head, and just watch it go. Just let it go. What is that saying to you? What is it feeding you with? Is it positivity or is it negativity? Our internal voice tends to be a more negative tone for all of us, including me, and I practice this every day. But that internal chatter is almost like a protection. It protects us from the outside world. It's keeping an eye on everything around us, going, no, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's scary. I got to keep you safe. I've got to protect you. We have to start changing that internal chatter that goes on. We're practicing that all day, every day. We have about 80,000 thoughts a day. What are those thoughts saying? So when we start to change that internal chatter, we start to practice happiness. We start to make sure that we are going out and practicing it as almost as much as it's going on and the negativity is going on our head. That's when we start to change how we experience the world around us. We all get a lens in which we perceive the world. We have to start making choices how we want to see it. Do you want to look out your window every day and go, hey, I got another day? Or are we starting our day with negativity and, oh my God, I've got to go to a job I hate. Oh my God, my children drive me crazy. Oh my God, I have so much to do. And this is the voice that tends to go on our head. And we have to work on changing that, practicing our happiness, practicing the way we view and see the world. When I'm working with children, I actually give them these blue heart-shaped glasses so that they look out at the world and they start looking for the good. No matter where we live, even in the worst parts of our world, we can find goodness in it. And that's the practice that we really need to all start having. And you have it in your head, you have it through the lens you see, you put it into your hands, and you put it out into the world.
I love it. I lecture throughout the world on happiness and wellness, right? So regardless of what country I'm in, I always start my talks by asking the audience the following question. If you were to ask any parent or grandparent, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, you name it, religious affiliation, what would you like for your children? What is the answer to that question? I just want them to be happy and healthy.
Every time.
Every time that's the answer is, and people actually are very enthusiastic when they yell back, at me.
Right.
So the thing is, why is it so easy for us to say, yes, this is what I want for my kids?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the
Well,
case,
we don't practice it
be
ourselves, right?
Exactly. And,
It's got to start with us. We have to emulate it for our children.
But absolutely. And we have to model that behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does it come easier for some people than others? Of course. But it is a skill set. And if we do certain things on a consistent basis, and kindness obviously being one of them. The thing about kindness is, I think kindness and happiness, you can't have one without the other.
You can't. They go hand in hand. They are literally married. It's what I love about every human being on this planet. To me, it's the common thread that runs through all of us. When you're kind, you feel good. Your mental health is better. Your well-being is better. Your happiness increases. Everything about you is better. Your health is better. They literally prove that it's just good for your body. And that runs through every single person. As you just said, it doesn't matter your culture, your religion, where you're from, what part of the world, color of your skin, your sexual orientation, nothing. You can identify as whatever you want. And the reality is this, we were born with this. It runs through our bodies. And when you allow that to run through your body, then you've opened your heart. And now we have a new practice of happiness and love and care in our world, which changes everything.
My dear, I'm so grateful to have you on the show. Our time is up, believe it or not. You and I could talk for hours and hours on this subject. We're passionate
Just
about
the beginning.
happiness. I know. So I'm going to ask you one last thing. What's the biggest takeaway? If there's one thing that you could tell for our audience, do this consistently and really watch what happens and just test it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to remind everybody, happiness and love, it's a practice. Okay. It's something we have to do every single day with intention. We have to start our day this way and we continue it as the day goes on. And every time you practice your own happiness, you find your tools. It's individual. No one sees the world through the same lens, but find the tools and strategies that work for you and intentionally every day put it at the top of your to-do list. What am I going to do today to foster and grow and cultivate happiness in my own life so I can make that impact on everyone around me?
You heard it right here. The Happy Hour with Dr. Elia, my wonderful guest, Jacqueline Way. Go to 365give. Is it .com, I'm assuming?
.ca, Canadian. All Canadian.
Wait a
.ca.
.ca. I take that back. The 365, the numbers, give.
Yes.
.ca. And also, of course, how to be happy every day. If you haven't watched her TEDx talk, if you're not one of the 8.2 million and growing, please go and do that. Just support Jackie and everything that she does. Thank you, my dear, for being on the show. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for all you're doing with the Happy Hour.
Thank you. Wow. Jacqueline Way. 8.2 million people and counting. That's the kind of legacy and impact this lady has had strictly on one thing and one thing only, which is kindness. And her heart is so big. So I would like to invite you to open up your happy hour journal, whether it's real journal or digital, however you like to take notes down, and do one thing for me. Because it's all about putting things into practice. You know, in life, it doesn't matter what we know. What really matters is what we do with what we know, right? So we all know that kindness is important. So just do it as an experiment for the next month. Let's call it starting on the first of the month, and for the next 30 days, do an act of kindness every single day, mindful. I don't believe in random acts of kindness, by the way. I'm talking about mindful, consistent, deliberate, and conscious acts of kindness and acts of service. And notice what happens to your heart and to your mind. And I would love to hear from you. Any comments or thoughts that you might have, feel free to reach out to me, dreliag@gmail.com. And I can't wait to see you next week.